Hey folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name's Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat. It is 2:45 Central Texas time, October 3rd. We're getting close to the banana zone. Welcome back. Folks, this is not a game. I don't know if you've seen that thumbnail. This is Richard the Lionheart himself. Folks, I'll tell you what, this is not a game. I don't know if you've seen it. You probably heard about it, but the SEC is going back after on appeal on XRP. And of course, devastating to XRP because it's, dropped 10% immediately. But I think more importantly is this whole idea of regulatory capture, right? This is a battle, folks. It is a battle. But I want to share with you today why it's not a game, why this is not a game, why you need to understand what's going on and take it seriously because there are people within this marketplace, which Richard Hart is one of them, who is taking it seriously. If you don't realize what's at stake and what the battle is for, you miss what is here because so many people come into the market of crypto thinking, hey, I heard about those guys in Bitcoin and they bought it at pennies or they mined it and now it's like 70,000 or whatever it is, $65,000. Well, that's true. And so pretty much people across the world know that story that, hey, crypto guys, the crypto bro is a meme. And of course, what attracts people is like these gains, these crazy gains. But you know why? What's really amazing about crypto, what it has done is it has exposed us to what the rich folk, right? The elites already knew. Think about this. In the past, before crypto, you thought, well, I want to get in on the initial offering, right? I want to get in on this IPO. Well, you know what's funny about it is an IPO is where the public market gets a chance to get in on something new that's going public. But these kind of gains, we think, oh, this crypto thing is something new. Well, it kind of is. What it's done is it's democratized these kind of gains because the people that took the risks, and these are the big VC firms and the folks on Wall Street, they're seeing deals before you're seeing them, right? Once it gets to an IPO, dude, like all the gains are gone. And everybody's like, yeah, I got into the IPO. No. Did you have a young kid named Zuckerberg come to your office? No, that's really where those gains are. And those gains are like these gains, right? If you learn about Twitter at the beginning, you learn about these things at the beginning. And there's a lot of the same group of people that were in this inner circle. Crypto's changed that. It means you are on the same basis as somebody from a firm. And in fact, they're behind. Look at the institutional people. They're just kept catching up. How many cycles have we gone through? What, 13 years of this with Bitcoin? So, folks, that's what's so exciting about it, but it's also very, very volatile, and you know that. But this isn't a game. We're dealing with real money here. And what's more important is we're dealing with something really big, and that is the shift, the change in the entire financial system. And if you pay attention to what's happening in true DeFi, you realize that, hold on, this is going to be an alternative to the centralized, right? So I think as we're seeing a unipolar world, right? We see BRICS and we see the US, right? The US dollar and now the BRICS nations are doing this, right? The era of American hegemony since World War II is going to be over soon. And so we're going to have, instead of basically the US running everything and being the policeman and basically toppling governments and starting wars and all of these things, we're going to see powers rise in Asia specifically. But as these things change, also, we're dealing with a change in the financial system. And I say this a lot on this channel, but Raoul Pal has said it, and I quote him often. This is the first time in human history where political power and financial power have been separated. I'll say that again. This is the first time in human history where political power and financial power have been separated. Well, how is that so? In the past, you'd win a war, right? You kill the people, you take their gold, and you'd rewrite the rules in your favor. That's how, empires topple, right? This is how people take over. Well, when you have a democratization of money, when you have the ability for individual people in community to declare value themselves, right? Richard said it many times. Our made-up internet money is better than the government's made-up internet money. Why? Because we have community and we have trust. And I want you to see actually what's the basis for this, right? Everybody wants you to believe in their meme coin. Why? Because belief or trust is the new currency. It is not a token. It's trust. It's trust in community. That's actually where the value is. And honestly, it's the only place value's ever been. If you think about it, in the Old West, you'd find strike gold or oil or something, and a town would pop up. Why? Because there's value there. What we're saying is we have value here. We know Metcalfe's law of this square that comes from the growth of a community. Well, what is a community that sticks together if not trust? Of course, we dealt with a bear market and a lot of lack of trust and a lot of fighting and those type of things. But there's something about green candles that kind of is anesthetizing to all of that pain. And we're coming into that era. We're coming into that time right now. But the future is ultimately about the tokenization of stuff, of real world assets, and where that value sits in communities. You know, the Bitcoin community at the beginning, right? They, said, that's silly. Well, what are they doing now? Michael Saylor's buying it all. Governments are buying it all. Well, the interesting thing is Bitcoin has been centralized, right? They're getting a hold on it. Why do you think the governments and why do you think the banks want to buy Bitcoin? They want to control it. Richard Hart is defending DeFi. Well, what does that mean? Well, I've wanted to, and if I could influence any of the narrative in this community, I would say we need to shift from, PulseChain is cheaper, faster, better. No, we need to change to we are together building the alternative financial system. That's what we're doing. Because the fundamentals of what Richard has set up and the fact that he's fighting the SEC as it relates to free speech. And we'll get into that in a minute. But first, we're going to jump into the chat because that's my favorite place to be. Sam Kemp is number one. Definitely not a game. What's up, my friend? You are awesome. I'm so glad that you're here. Taryn, blessed day to you, my friend. Texonium's here. Hexfather Matt. Rich Liberation in the house. Let's go. Exciting times ahead. Didn't it feel better? It feels better. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, though, right? We've got wars and rumors of wars. And we got an election. And we've got all kinds of things happening. I mean, when you look at how many votes have been purchased through kind of the importing of illegals, I mean, folks, there's no guarantee. And one way or the other, things are going to be different in the world on probably November 6th, or at least the end of that week. And who knows how long it'll take for them to count the votes, the extra ballots. But at the end of the day, this is going to change regardless of who wins. It changes. But what's interesting is we've got a cycle of crypto. What's it being fueled by? It's being fueled by some really interesting things. And it's just amazing how all this timing comes together. So I want to make a case to you that there is something really big and special coming, and it's related to the financial system itself, its rickety nature. So let's get through the chat, and then we'll jump into that. Texan for the win, absolutely. Hans, what's going on, Hans? Bravo. For keeping at it. Yeah, we're keeping at it. Well, it's even more exciting when you're coming into a bull run to be excited. And so, yeah, just keeping it up. Wherever you go Texan. That's awesome, dude. Cadium, Halo, what's up, man? Good to see you. Rich Liberation, the future looks bright. Arth, good to see you. Hello. Liberty or death is here. Hello, all. Time to be resilient. It's all about trust. Absolutely. What a great one. I've done a number of streams about that topic in general, but what is it? What is fiat currency? Since we got off the gold standard in 1972 with Bretton Woods, what do we have? Well, it's the good faith and credit of the American people, right? What's backing the US dollar? Well, think about this. You can't use Canadian money in Texas, right? I can't use the loonie in Texas. I can't use Canadian PVC money in Texas. So what is it made up of? Well, it's made up of a group of people that have a certain ethos. Question is how unified they are, right? They've got generally a geography, they got rules, they've got leaders, and they got currency. Well, this whole digital nation concept, which we're creating, this is Hexaco, man, whatever you want to call it, PulseCo. It is a group of people who have trust, and they agree, and that's it. They agree that this is where value is. And so the whole thing, why this is not a game, is the fact that we are building value within a system that supports this freedom and sovereignty, freedom to speak. This case with the SEC that Richard is going to go, and maybe it's going to be, who knows where it's going to go on October 31st. But this is a big date for this case against the SEC. And what I'm hoping, my dream is that a precedent gets established. At least the judge or whatever in this case says, you know what? When you choose to make a transaction on the blockchain, you're writing to a public ledger. So imagine this is, what is a ledger, right? Let's just say it's a big old spreadsheet. Imagine it's a chalkboard and you walk up to it and you take a piece of chalk and you write on that board. That is your authorship. right? You're doing that function. So if you think about it, you're writing to the blockchain. Well, that's code, right? You're doing math, you're paying the fee, no one's doing it for you. Well, in the past, when you write something, when you're the author, when you choose to speak, whether you write it or do it verbally, that is your property. Okay, so this authorship concept, whether you're writing computer code or you're writing a novel, that speech is protected. That is your property. Well, you can say whatever you want. We have that First Amendment right here in the States. Well, what does that look like when it comes to writing to a blockchain? It looks very clear to me that it's a case for free speech. Well, if that precedent gets set, think about not only what that does to the chart, but what that means for everyone within the crypto sphere. If writing to the blockchain is speech, which it should be, right? It should be. That is your authorship. You are doing something on your own, making a choice, paying the fee. That's a big case. That is a really big precedent. And I think that brings Richard the glory, some of the glory that he wants. But if you think about it, that was the Pulse sacrifice, was for the freedom of speech. When that happened, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on related to, there's some censorship, but it wasn't as big as it is now. Free speech is probably one of the main issues on the ballot here in November. Folks, times have changed. Richard Hart saw it in advance. But then also the freedom of movement, which is really the freedom to transact. So think about this future. If you want to actually have a chilling conversation, you want to actually hear, you would go to the Bitcoin conference, this last one that came. And Edward Snowden spoke again at that conference. And he talked about the fact that everybody was excited. Bitcoin's decentralized. Oh, really is it? Intelligence agencies across the world and governments are taking in all this information. It's public on a ledger. And his warning was, think about this. Let's say you come and you digest all of the information of every single transaction that happens across the world on Bitcoin, for example, or any network for that matter that's public ledger. And you take all that in. You say, all right, I'm going to use AI. And I'm going to say, all right, AI, what are 90% of these transactions? What are they? Well, they're under this amount and they look like this. Well, what about the other 10%? Well, these are kind of outliers. What's the top 5% or what's the top 1%? So what happens is, some analyst sitting in some, room with fluorescent lights is going to see on his terminal pop up your transaction. See, in the world of free speech and having freedom to transact, you don't have someone, big brother, looking over your shoulder saying, no, I'm going to freeze your assets, right? I'm going to do something to you within this system that literally flags you. Well, that's what OFAC is. OFAC is this essentially saying, I can make a choice and I'm going to assume you're guilty. I'm going to freeze you, right? The Pulse chain has none of that. When you have something that's properly decentralized and you have all of the tools that are not in centralized hands, this is why this idea that everyone pushed back with, having an OA, an origin address, and let's say Richard's in charge of that. Oh, that's a bad thing. It's so centralized. No, when you have a benevolent actor who understands what's at stake, what would you rather have? The IMF controlling things and a bunch of, analysts in the NSA controlling your money? And especially if everything's going digital, which it is. And so I want you to realize this is not a game of like when Lambo, oh, maybe I'll get into the latest meme coin and it'll go to the moon. Okay, fine. If that's where you are, that's fine. You need to come. This is why I'm doing these streams, is to let you know there's a lot more at stake here. But imagine those that care about freedom and sovereignty, care about the freedom to transact, care about the freedom of speech, care about the freedom of movement. What if they came to the Pulse chain? Why? Because it's fundamentally decentralized, not OFAC compliant. It's not controlled by any VCs. And that's a huge thing, folks, because the VCs are connected to all kinds of things. XRP is tied to those guys. I mean, Ethereum's already corrupted. The only other one that I think that might not be as corrupted is probably Cardano, and that's boring. So you're in it, folks. The Pulse chain is a copy of Ethereum. It has the system state, which has all your tokens on it. So literally, Richard, in his brilliance, realized, hey, it's going to take time for people to realize this, but as they start clamping down on people, right, and you can't transact, and you have to have a digital ID and a government wallet and a social credit score, where are you going to go to transact? That's what's at stake. Does that happen overnight? No. But I want to share something with you. And Dur, thank you. It is all about trust. I want to share this with you. This is from Visa. This is an announcement on October 3rd. Oh, that's today. Visa introduces the Visa Tokenized Asset Platform. Huh. I wonder what's going on in the world, folks. Visa Tokenized Asset Platform, or VTAP, is a new product that helps banks issue fiat backed tokens. Oh, interesting. That sounds like a stablecoin. BBVA, big bank, will use VTAP to create tokens on the public Ethereum blockchain with expected live pilots in 2025. I'd encourage you to take a look at this. There's a Visa developer platform. There's a couple things to take away from this. There's opportunity here when big companies like Visa are looking at these things. But here's the thing I want you to see in all of this. The battle is for stablecoins. Well, is Visa part of a global cabal? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But here's what's interesting. Why does BBVA or any other bank want to be able to launch their own fiat backed stablecoin? Because they want transactions to happen. They want to get the transactions fee for these transactions that are going to happen. Right. And so we see politically people saying, we don't want some CBDC. Well, here's the thing. Unless you have a decentralized stablecoin, you essentially are controlled by whatever that fiat backed stablecoin is. The good thing, though, is that if you don't have to go to fiat and you can use the Visa network, that means Hex, Pulse, PulseX, whatever you hold that's on the Ethereum chain, or by way of bridge on Pulse chain, literally you can get goods and services. I remember back when the internet started. I'm that old. Back in those days, I remember it was 1996, and Netscape processed the first credit card transaction, right? SSL certifications, right? And what was amazing about that was people said, oh yeah, it's going to change everything. And of course I was just finishing up college, and I'm like, what do you mean the internet and credit card transactions? Well, look where we are now, right? That's old news. Well, the same thing is happening right now, right? You can't just be in crypto and buy everything, right? You can't directly buy from Amazon.com with crypto, right? You have to go through some sort of centralized system. What's really interesting though is right now, typically what you're doing is you're like, all right, I'm going to get mad gains in the Pulse chain, right? Then I'm going to trade to a DAI stable coin on the Pulse chain. I'm going to bridge it over to Ethereum. I'm going to take that and I'm going to sell it to cash in Coinbase. It's going to transfer that cash to my bank account, and I'm going to spend that fiat at Amazon or at the local grocery store or wherever. That's going away. And these are the indicators of this, these tokenization platforms where the banks want to do this. But here's the thing. It's really not centralized, folks. The real true centralization will be if there is a truly decentralized stablecoin. Well, why do you think? And, I'm not somebody that's promoting the pegging of PDI, for example, or any of the other stablecoins on the Pulse chain. But in order for this system to work, to have a truly decentralized ecosystem, to have a truly alternative financial system, we're going to have a backed stablecoin. And Richard knows that. That's why he got into the maker contract and took it over. This may not happen I predict when all the stuff goes away with the SEC, Richard's going to start streaming again, selectively probably. He's going to tell you what's up. I hope you're paying attention. This is so exciting, right? Because not only if he sets that precedent, or at least the case gets dismissed, we're coming in. It's like the absolute perfect timing. Why? Because I don't know if you paid attention, but during the whole Charlie 19, right, that whole health scare we had where people were locked down, guess what country did not do any quantitative easing? China. Guess what China decided to do? Quantitative easing. They're trying to recover, right? They're printing money. What happens when the money printer gets turned on? We know what happens in the US. We lower the interest rates by 50 basis points. They're saying it probably another 50. Folks, the amount of liquidity that's coming into the market is going to be absolutely insane. And then we have this, what happens with the election and wars. So imagine there's a number of scenarios. I'll point one out. Trump win. Crypto regulations are sensible. Gary Gensler's gone. Whoa, that's pretty exciting. Now what ends up happening? Trump said energy is going to be the first place. We're going to bring energy. We're going to drill. We're going to basically get back to where we were. Well, once you put an ease on energy, it really helps the economy, right? Regulations gone, all these things that can be done really quickly. Okay, so relief. Well, what ends up happening when people are more positive? And what happens when there is cheap, easy money, right? Tons of liquidity in the market, right? Risk on, right? People are willing to take risks. Well, what are we seeing? Governments and companies buying crypto. We're seeing Visa. Visa? Yeah, Visa. Visa getting into the stablecoin play. I mean, PayPal already has PYUSD. Folks, we may see in this cycle the fact that one of the big retailers, and this would be like the creme de la creme, not for decentralization, but for crypto going mainstream, which is good for all of us, is this market grows. Well, how would it grow? Well, I think there's a battle between Amazon and Walmart.com. And I don't know if you noticed, if you've used either one of those platforms, one of those two is going to be the first one to accept USDC or whatever, insert whatever stablecoin that's fiat backed. That means, folks, on the Ethereum network, you can trade for that stablecoin and get goods and services direct, no fiat off ramp. Folks, this is a big deal. This is the mainstream we've been talking about. I talked about this all last cycle. It's a big deal. But I think what's more important is that what we see across the world, the globalists, right? You will own nothing and be happy, right? They're marching forward. They can't march over the pulse chain. And that's what's so incredible about this is that there has been this plan since the beginning. And it almost feels like, did Richard, does he have a time machine? Right? Did he know what was coming and prepared for it? Or is he that smart? I don't know. But while most people are out there fighting with each other on crypto Twitter, Richard's continuing the battle. And for a guy who's a multi-billionaire to, not just sit on the beach and goes, forget you guys, you're too difficult. He's actually caring about you even when many people don't care about him. I think it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And that's a fight I want to take because I think about my kids, my grandkids, what is going to happen in the future and how we're going to advocate for them. And is there going to be a place where you can actually transact without being shut off? It's just like the BRICS nation. I mean, it's the same exact thing. Why are the BRICS nations getting together and going, hey, we need to have an alternative to SWIFT? Is it because they want to sell arms and drugs? No, because they don't want to be underneath this outsourced debt, which is ultimately what's happening from the US dollar, right? As a global reserve currency, all of their debt's denominated in dollars. They want to, no, we want to go our own way. This is no different. But for us, it's going to be a truly decentralized financial system. And in my opinion, what we're actually building here isn't just a layer one or a vertically aligned ecosystem. We, together, us, Richard Hart leading, we are building the alternative financial system, period, end of sentence. That's a really big deal. The long-term impacts of that are really, really, really big. All right, let's get back to the chat. It's November 6th, the date when the results will be in. If it's not recount after the recount, yeah. Well, obviously voting is the 5th. In all my life, they got the returns that night, right? But now we've established something with the whole Charlie 19 that you can have a water main break and you can pause things and you can stop counting and then you can wheel in all of the extra ballots. There's going to be, I think, a lot of people watching, right? Because they know what kind of shenanigans are going to get pulled. And they're not shenanigans. It's called fraud. It's illegal. But, with all the people that have been imported, can they stop this wave? I don't know. JD Vance did a heck of a job during the VP debate. But you know what, folks? This is going to definitely be on the knife's edge. And there's many people I know who say, regardless of what the numbers say, they're going to call it for Kamala Harris. And it might be weeks before we know actually who wins. I don't know that I'm as cynical as that. But, for a guy after he was shot in the ear and then threatened again, I mean, folks, he makes it to November 5th. I feel like almost every day I'm going to wake up and it's like, oh, yeah, president's been, or, former president's been shot. Hex Honcho, hello to you, to the dome. That's PulseX buy and burn is gaining attention. That could be the open secret that's going to send Pulse and Hex further than most can imagine. I'm hoping that Richard's lawyers will destroy the SEC. Well, they're all former SEC people. They know this stuff. And I think they've got a really, really tight case. And they've made that case in some of these briefs that they've given. Folks, this is going to be really exciting. There's some people I know that are actually going to go to the courthouse on October 31st. That spooky day in October. Hans, stars really lining up, aren't they? Long PLSX. Yeah, and for those of you who've waited so long, what makes me happy is, I started my channel October 1st, 3 years ago? So, it was a time when things were going up and to the right. Everybody was so excited. I mean, streamers coming out of the woodwork. We built such a big community of people across this whole Hex and Pulse community. And it was so exciting. And then, you know, the next 3 years, was just down into the right and just depressing. And for those folks who got into Pulse and Pulse X and everything and actually held on, which many people couldn't, we're still not even to what, half of the sack rate on Pulse. There's still opportunity here, folks. And I think that that's what's so cool. Like knowing what I know now, going through the last cycle, this is it. I mean, this is it. Like this is an opportunity of a lifetime. And I'm not going to tell you what to invest in. I look at the nature of a decentralized financial system that Richard's building, and I go, hey, I think this is going to be the thing that stands alone. It's not going to be the only place of value, but it's going to be a place where there is value, and you're going to have some freedom to be able to transact. You're going to have privacy. You're going to have the ability to speak your mind, if you will. So it is an exciting time, though, and for it all to be coming together at this time, it's almost like Richard even knew when the case would be settled. I was one of the people, stupidly, who wanted it to defy the cycles. But here's the crazy thing. Like, I want you to let's just look at this together. And I'm just going to point out something that I think is glaringly obvious. This is a really simple Ethereum chart, right? I just want you to see something. Okay. I'm going to hover over the date of the high in 2018. That was January 13th. Okay. And then I'm going to move my cursor over here to where I think it was about where it hit kind of that all-time high, right? So 18 to, hold on, that's January, right? Yeah, January 13th to about January 16th. Okay, what does that look like to you? Well, that's exactly 18, 19, 20, 21, 4 years to basically to the day. So now let's pop up here to this all-time high, right? This all-time high was what? 40, where is it? If I can get it to do it. This is like poor man's. So this is November 9th. What's 4 years from November 9th, folks? It's November 9th. I mean, just think about that cycle. And it coincides with the election. And it coincides with all of these things. And then look what's happening financially. I mean, these are cycles. What are the charts really showing you? They're showing you human emotions. And folks, these cycles repeat. And in this cycle, like the reason Richard can call things on the day is because these things are so predictable. Now, are they exactly the day? No, but what has happened in those days, 4 years after, like literally to the day? Banana zone, that's when it goes parabolic, and we saw these altcoin summer. It was before, and now it's going to be this beginning of a winter for us seasonally here in the northern hemisphere. And it's really interesting. But that's what I look at. And I go, well, is it beginning? Sure. We're seeing that bottom. But, Bitcoin had a bottom a long time ago. But people transition out of those when they have their gains and they come into the altcoins. I asked in the last stream, I said, all right, what do you think the top of Ethereum is going to be? And most people said $10,000 plus. Well, it's sitting at what, $2,500, $2,600 right now? That's a 4x. Back in the day, Daddy's S&P 500 wasn't doing 4x in 10 months. I mean, that's just as an indicator. I mean, that's a blue chip. Imagine what can happen with Pulse, PulseX, Hex, all these different things, right? Texan, Ophir, all of these things. And it really depends on who's there because people chase green candles and it sucks in the world. Well, guess what's going to happen? These people are going to have tokens over here and we're going to see value and we might see something really unique with stablecoins. Folks, in order for us to have an alternative financial system, we have to have stablecoins. But those stablecoins can't be backed by Circle or Binance. It's got to be internally managed by the backing that is within the system itself. And that's the key here. And that's what Richard has seen this whole time. And folks, if you're new to this whole thing, this is more than just, hey, I got into a cryptocurrency and it went up. This is actually a battle. It's not a game. This is a battle for, is there going to be an alternative decentralized financial system or not? Because everyone else is going to compromise themselves, in my opinion. It's already been compromised. We had to sacrifice Bitcoin on the altar of decentralization. That's number one. Shout out to Axis Alive. Two, Ethereum's already OFAC compliant, and you know that's already given away. So where is there going to be a place that is truly going to protect speech and privacy and transactions? That's the vision, but it requires leaders who have vision and resource. And there's a serious amount of resource that's sitting there just from the SAC funds. But think about this. People criticize Richard. Oh, he bought the local top. Ha, ha, ha. He's not as smart as I thought he was. Folks, if we're going to see Ethereum at 10,000 or as high as 17,000, and Richard's call for Bitcoin is $241,500, just like do a little bit of math, folks. And if you think that all these people that waited this long and held are going to be rewarded, because ultimately the plan with the SAC funds is they were going to come back to you in the form of liquidity and buying pressure and protecting the price. I mean, that's what happened with X, folks. You don't have to be brilliant to see it. 227 people across 3 platforms. You're blowing my mind, folks. I'd appreciate it. Most of you are on X watching this right now. I'd encourage you, subscribe on YouTube, and we're going to be sharing more of this. I focus on, kind of crypto over 50. We talk about some basic things that make some sense, like, hey, it needs to be backed by something, right? If you get in, you need to get out. You need to understand automated market makers. You need to understand liquidity. You need to understand bonded liquidity. Those are the kind of things that we'll share. But at the end of the day, I want to encourage you. You're in the right place if you care about the future of the financial system and the fact that we actually can have it ourselves, that it can be truly in the hands of the people. That is the ethos. That is the whole ethos and reason that Bitcoin was created in the beginning. And we're live. Deep inside the rabbit hole. Oh, awesome, dude. What's up? Matt Long's partner with Dome. Deep inside the rabbit hole. I love it. Ivor Bigging. Yeah, there you go. Hex Force One. What's going on? Hex Anton, what's going on? Hex Monkey back again. Talk about one of the Hex OGs. Good day, everyone. Congrats to all the folks who stuck together and kept the faith during the bear. I got a message from Hex Monkey today, and it was such an encouragement. Folks, if you think about what is a community of people, a community of people are folks who consider others in addition to themselves, right? What is Richard displaying? And I kind of take the whole episode of buying everything and twerking as kind of a little hiccup. But if you look at all the content over time, he's advocating for a group of people. He wants to actually make a difference in the world, and he sees that through his intellect and knowledge of crypto and how money works and his ability to market and his understanding of human, interaction and motivation and incentive, he's made some really good decisions. And is he perfect? No. Is he a god? No. But he's advocating for you, and I respect that. I respect the fact that they do that. So what can we do? We can encourage one another, and that's what we're doing here. We're reminding each other, hey, you're in the right spot. And you may not be in the right spot. Like, is this the one token that's going to do a 17,000x? That's not why I'm here. Do I think it's going to go up into the right? Yeah, because the whole place is going to go up into the right. Bonded liquidity on the Pulse chain? Yeah. Crypto market's going to go up. Look at Visa coming in with stablecoins. Folks, everyone's buying into this because they have an insatiable desire for yield. And this is where you get it, right? You're not making this in U.S. securities. It's going to be the only place you can make money. And that's what's so exciting, I think, for the future. But more importantly, are you going to have a place where you can actually make a transaction without somebody having the ability to shut you off, shut you down? And that's my biggest concern, because that's what the scarcity model wants. In fact, it's an illusion. This place is abundant, folks. I mean, take a look around. Right? Anyone who's ever done any farming knows this. You plant a kernel of corn in the ground, guess what happens? A stalk grows up. It's got 2 or 3 ears. There's 16 rows? 1,600. It's 1,600 to 1. One kernel of corn that grows into a stalk of corn with 2 or 3 ears is 1,600 kernels. Well, guess what? Did you scratched the earth open, right? You didn't make it rain. You didn't germinate that. But you waited, you tended to it, right? You waited for a yield, right? A harvest, a yield. And so this is a farming analogy, because when you partner with the creation, it is abundant. And so, what is our responsibility? Our responsibility is to create these systems and build them in a way that reflect the very creation and nature and character of what's going on in this world, right? The actual creation itself is abundant. But we, as people who are inclined on evil, we destroy each other, right? We take from others. And of course, what are all these wars about, right? If we can take out Russia, we can take out Iran, right? Do you think it's because, oh, it's democracy and we want to do? No, it's about resources, folks. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about oil, it's about gas, it's about gold, it's about resources. It's war. And of course, what are we doing, right? War is the neocons want war because their buddies. I mean, think of us. We'll give you money to buy from our companies. Oh, and you can take a little cut yourself and drive a Bugatti. All these people in like driving supercars in the yeah, I mean it's crazy. It's crazy. I could go on for hours about that. This really feels like the heartbeat of crypto, dude. That's the whole point, man. I love it. Dave Weiss is the man. Pulse Chain is the freedom chain. Empty Corner, good to see you again, man. Thanks for being here. Liberty to Death, love your show. You always bring me back to what it's really about. That's the plan. I'm kind of a one-trick pony, but I'm going to be encouraging and hopefully bring you news, because I want to bring something each time. So if you're going to tune in the future, you're going to subscribe and you're going to watch these as we do live. I'm going to do them pretty regularly now. Well, what are you going to find? You're going to probably get some tidbits on things. You're going to hear about news. But the focus that I'm on is I believe that if crypto is really, truly going to be what I think it can be, it can't just be a speculative casino. It's going to have to be tied to things of value. And so what you're going to see in crypto, I think this next phase is that people are going to tie cryptocurrencies to industries that create value, right? Right now, a meme coin is just the speculation, right? Everybody jumps in. The more people that buy, the price goes up. The more people sell, the price goes down. Well, what if industries were tied to tokens and profits were regularly buying? Well, you'd avoid these cycles, right? There'd be enough liquidity. It needs to be locked. That's another problem, right? In a decentralized exchange that is made by individual people providing the liquidity, somebody can pull that liquidity, right? And it can rug pull you. And that's usually what happens with a lot of these new coins where people are trying to scam you. So the future needs to be backed by something. It needs to have regular buying from actual goods and services, right? Real cash flows. And then it needs to be backed by something. And you need to have thick liquidity so people can get in and out. That's really the future of a stable system within crypto. And that's what I'm focused on. You're going to the courthouse, dude. That's going to be exciting. I know a couple people that are going. I unfortunately can't go, but man, I hope you pull out your phone and you live stream it. That'd be awesome to kind of tune in with you. It will be with you in spirit. 269 people on 3 platforms. Thanks for being here. Once again, folks, if you like the content, please subscribe. Yeah, live stream outside the courtroom. Perfect. I'll do something for sure. Awesome. Pulse Chain trainer. Oh my goodness. What a good guy. Yep. Hope everyone's doing well. It's so cool when we do these here, when we're seeing like some light at the end of the tunnel where it's a little bit more exciting. We got some green candles. I mean, Hex is up 37% in 7 days. I know we've got some kind of local selling, which is common, but 37%, is that right? Let me look at my gopulse.com. Yeah, 37.4% in the last 7 days. 24 hours, we're only up, 4%. But folks, I remember back in the day, I remember I got into Hex 2 days before Big Payday because I saw an ad on TV. Literally, I was up at 2 a.m. and somebody had bought some ad. It was Richard's voiceover, and it's like, would you like to be rich? And I watched this ad on late night television. It just shows you what an old man I am, can't sleep. And I'm like, yeah, I'll throw some money into this. Well, I experienced a 25x, right? That sounds silly to the OGs. They're like, you're in your little 25x. It was transformative. It was so cool. I literally sold it and bought my daughter a car because my wife kept saying to me at dinner, she was like, that's not real money. I'm like, honey, yeah, it's like $1,200 and now it's $5,000 and now it's $7,500 and now it's $12,000. She's like, that's not real money. That's not real money. And of course, I'm sure many of you who have wives that don't understand crypto at all, they're like, that's not real money. And then one day I was like, all right, my daughter's birthday was coming up, her 16th birthday. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to prove to you that it's real money, and bought her a car. And so, folks, it's real money. But you know what? In these cycles, it's super, super volatile. But what we have here is special. And what you don't realize is the actual community of people that are here for a lot of different reasons, right? We've got the flat earth community, right? We've got people, the truthers. We've got, people from all walks of life. We've got people that are in it, because they're just, I just want a Lambo. And then you've got people who are like grandparents. And then you've got guys like, it's just amazing. Sam Kemp is in it. He's got great grandchildren. He's got stakes for them. I mean, it's amazing. But folks, what really ties us together is this idea that, hang on, we've trusted centralized planners for a long time. And how's it going? How's it look to you? It's time we take this back. That's why it's so significant that this is the first time in human history when financial power and political power have been separated. It's a big deal. Like, you will tell stories about this. This won't happen again. This happens once, and you're living in it, and you're early in it. And everybody, last cycle at least, everybody's like, "Oh, you're crypto bro, you're crazy." Yeah, until they realize, oh wow, there actually was something there. Because it's not going to be the same crypto story. It's going to be digital money, right? It's going to be more packaged. And then a lot of people, here's the thing you need to realize right now, it's still difficult, right? Self custody and all this stuff. I mean, think about it. Have you ever walked into a bank recently? I don't think you have, but if you did, guess who walks in? People over 75, and they need a lot of help. And what's interesting about this, as time goes on, there's going to be people that are educated, but we've got this culture where, there's all these safeguards within the centralized financial system, right? And you don't have those safeguards. You lose your keys, you lose it all. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff that's trying to get into the middle here. And we're going to stand alone, taking responsibility with self custody within this pulse chain. Is it going to take over the world? Are we going to be the biggest thing? No, you can't, because there's a lot of people who will trade that lack of security, right? They'll trade it off, right? So they'll take this, privacy thing, and they'll give it over because they want it to be easier, convenient. And what we're saying is, no, we want to take this responsibility on ourselves. Self custody your keys, right? Not your keys, not your coins. Acrylic, what's going on? Hex Monkey's right here with you, Matt. I figured Hex might dip 50 to 75%, but would stay decorrelated from the cycle. Never expected a 98% dip. Hard lessons learned. It's so true. But folks, it's always darkest before they turn on the lights. The coolest thing, though, is it's an opportunity. And really right now is such a significant opportunity in a significant time. I cannot emphasize that more. So many people like Hex Monkey have dealt with this last cycle and the pain of it, and you don't have to. But I'm going to tell you a secret, and you should tell everybody that you bring into the Pulse Chain, right? Because you're going to tell everybody you know about this. If you're coming in new, every 4 years, this cycle hits a top. And the reason that Richard Hart reminds us all the time that he called the top in Bitcoin is that's the announcement to everyone that has big money to get out. And I'm going to tell you this right now. When the top is in, the top is in. It's over for 4 years. I didn't learn that lesson. I was like, oh, maybe it's going to go back up, right? And that's what you sell all the way down. It goes down 98%. That's the lesson. Like, Richard's he called it. He's like 20, what did he say? 241,500 on Bitcoin. Pay attention. So if I had to guess when the next top is, and I'm certainly not a prognosticator, I would say you get about 10 or 11 months of this altcoin, whatever season you want to call it, right? The banana zone. So I think it starts right after the election and it goes maybe 12 months. I think it would be October of 2025. And this is the game over, and you better be out into something stable. I'm just telling you that right now. That is a secret that people don't know. If this is your first cycle, congratulations. You're at the right point, right, to get in. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't have a plan to get out, you are going to be hurt. And a lot of people, I was one of them. I'm like, well, maybe it's going to come back up. Right. And then you see these local things. You're like, oh, maybe it is. Oh, nope, it doesn't. And Richard told us that. And I guess I didn't listen. 306 people across 3 platforms. Thank you so much. This is such an encouragement. It feels like the olden days. 307 people here. Crazy. But it's, what's helped us get through this is guys like Hex Monkey, right? Guys who come along, they're really like mature people who are like, hey, man, and you're here for each other. That's where the trust and community comes in. And I think you need to take the lead. Like, we need to differentiate ourselves by how we care for one another. And if you go to a Hex event, you'll learn that, or a Pulse Chain event, or whatever it is, this ecosystem. People care about each other. Are there a bunch of bad actors? Yes, because money attracts a bunch of, Judases, if you will. Dublin waiting for 31st since 2021. There you go. Conspiracy Crypto, welcome. Good to see you. It'll be great to watch. Thank you. Hopefully you and Crypto Heartbeat can do a live stream. Matt Long did a great job on his channel. Hope you do another episode of the podcast. Awesome. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. Hexaco is next. I had dreams back in this last bull run that there would be somebody who would buy like a big piece of property in like Central Texas somewhere, that's got a little bit of water, and, they were like, put up a sign, right? And you hold the NFT and you can come into Hexaco. And I can just imagine some of the people that I know literally having trailers and living in Hexaco. Richard talked about it, right? He's like, hey, there could be a place called Hexaco. And, he talked about his own country. I remember interviewing him and I asked him about that. Like, what is this whole thing of sovereignty in your own country? And it's interesting. He was on a number of times talking about that. How crazy. But, when you realize that you can take back the money, right? You have the authority to do this at this time because of technology and communication. Like, this is such an opportunity, folks. Everything is changing. I mean, AI, money with crypto, freaking UAPs. I mean, UFOs, like, we're finding out, oh yeah, we're not alone. Well, that's a whole other topic. And then there is Firestar. Let's go. Straight from the Philippines, the founder of Ophir Crypto. If you don't know about Ophir Crypto, you need to check it out. Firestarter is the man, the myth, the legend. OphirCrypto.com. Check it out. What is going on, folks? And Susie Q. Oh my goodness. Talk about somebody who's been always like eternally positive and optimistic. It's Susie Q. Susie Q, it was great to meet you. I think we met in Vegas. Hi, amazing Matt. So great to see you. Susie Q, thanks for being here. And then Drix, dude. Drix made several awesome tracks about Pulse Chain. That's what I love about this community is people bring their skills and their abilities. This is what I do, right? I talk into a microphone, and other people, they make music or whatever, and you can bring those things to the table. And I'm really going to encourage you. Like, if you're somebody who wants to stream and wants to create a channel in this Pulse Chain community, now is the time. It really is. Because people are just like, I want to see anything of anyone talking about this stuff. I encourage you. Like, if you want to do it, I started October 1st, 3 years ago, and it was like booming, or 4 years ago. Not sure when it was. Anyway, the point is things were going up and to the right, and it was so fun. And I'm going to tell you, this is the time, if you consider doing it, you really need to. It's easy to do. Yeah, we need to do a Texan meetup. Absolutely. We've got a couple things happening on our side, and once those things kind of finalize, we're going to end up hosting some things. This whole thing is going to move together. It's called bonded liquidity, because all of these tokens, Ophir and Texan, and a lot of the tokens that people have, legitimate builders have built, they are paired with Pulse, PLS. And as Pulse moves up, you're going to see the price move up, right? You're going to see the liquidity get thicker because that value is increasing, right? Well, is also going to attract people because those green candles. But then there's a whole group of people on the Texan side that are part of the Texas nationalist movement. And I'm going to tell you, you want to see Texan go to the moon? Yeah, if Kamala Harris wins, or I think somebody called her Carmelo. If she wins, and obviously I don't know that I would believe that, but let's say she does, folks, we got Texan. I mean, this is it, man. This is like, to me, the straw that breaks the camel's back. So we got some exciting things. Oh my gosh, Whitney Magic. Okay, folks, Whitney Magic has got I've said it before. She is magical, sparkly, all those things. Talk about really people with great attitudes who are always, thinking and using their minds, right, to create a future for themselves. Their words that they use, and folks, that's a big thing, right? Your attitude and your interest is so important. If you don't know about this stuff, get educated about. There's tons of streams, but there's also a lot of information, and we've got things like ChatGPT. You can learn so much. Like if you wanted to, it used to be that there would be these crypto 101 classes. You could literally go into any AI program and say, "All right, give me the basics, give me an outline of all the basics of decentralized finance," and it makes an outline for you. Then go take those and go put those into YouTube and watch videos on it. All right, what's an automated market maker, right? How does a decentralized exchange work? What is farming, right? When you're doing yield farming, what is that? Learn about this stuff. What does it mean self custody? What are the differences between hardware and software wallets? Understand the basis of the Bitcoin white paper, you know and Whitney is the kind of person who, we talk about, what we think. The battle is for how you think. Why do you think so many people are concerned about, memes and deep fakes and all this stuff? Because the battle is for your mind, how you think about things, your view of the world. That's what the battle is for, right? They want you to forget who you are, and Whitney Magic understands that more than anyone. Pulse chain trainer. When we're in the middle of the bull and your bags are big, remember it's worth nothing if you don't have your health. Amen. And so Pulse Chain Trainer, he helps people with that, right? He's a trainer. That is so true, right? Health is so important, but also paper gains aren't real gains, my friends. Paper gains, and a lot of people are like, look at my portfolio. Yeah. But the people that have gone through this stuff before, they know. I mean, you have to have a plan. October of 2025, folks, very likely is going to be the top. And so make your plans accordingly. Because not everybody watches these things and not everybody knows this stuff. And guess what? People are going to be like, "Oh, Bitcoin's going to 1 million." So imagine this threshold, and this will potentially happen probably in the summer or later of next year, is that Bitcoin's going to break $200,000, and people are going to literally, every one of the mainstream guys are going to be like, "It's going to 1 million." You know better than that. It'll probably go to 241.5 or something close to that, and that'll be the top. So have a plan. Have a plan. Paul out to 7. What's going on? Howdy to you. Making healthcare decisions for the family today, Dirk says. Absolutely. Melly Mel, you're so knowledgeable and encouraging. Hope you're streaming more often. I'm going to be streaming regularly. I do a podcast on Fridays at 11 a.m. in honor of my spiritual mentor, Steve Staggs. And that's all spiritual stuff. The rest of the time is going to be all crypto all the time, all, Pulse Chain, decentralized finance. Yes. Mock PLS. Do you think Richard's stream after winning the SEC case? Love the show. Absolutely. Here's why. Richard's kind of been muzzled because of this SEC case, right? Obviously, he was avoided being served. We saw him in undisclosed locations. Richard knows what he's doing, but once that he's freed up, right? So post-election, right, we're going to have Gensler will be out, right? That's huge. There's going to be a lot of pressure, right? If the Republicans win, there's a lot of people, especially Republicans, that hold crypto. And so we're going to see regulatory environment be very attractive. There has to be rules, and people have to abide by those rules, right? But yes, because this vision can only truly take off with its leader, sharing the strategy, right? We're inferring the strategy through tweets and different things like that. But we had this last time. I mean, he made it clear. If you weren't around for kind of that last bull run with Hacks and Pulse, when the Pulse chain sacrifice was happening, and he said, I'm gonna fork Ethereum and I'm gonna keep the system state. That's when I started streaming. I'm like, this is incredible. Well, I didn't really realize the implications of copying over that system state as it related to things like all of that liquidity coming over, because you'd assume that if I took something, let's say I came to your house and you had this really nice piece of art on the wall and I took a picture of it with my phone and I printed it out, you'd be like, that has no value. Well, strangely, the copies that Richard made have value. Is wrap Bitcoin on the Pulse chain as much as wrap Bitcoin on Ethereum? No, but it has a value. And I think that that's what's incredible. This idea of, pegging stable coins and having all this liquidity. Folks, there's going to be some amazing things that happen because the thing to watch is how much money is coming across the bridge, how much new money is coming into the pulse chain. And, elections and, geopolitical things. And, you're going to see the people that are actually aware of, all right, where can I keep this value and where I know it's going to be safe and where do I know that I'm going to have privacy with my transactions. But I will say that the pulse chain has a long way to go. There's basic infrastructure that the pulse chain lacks right now that it needs, and there are builders who are building those things. Um, so we're a work in project, progress. We're flying it. But I do believe that Richard will stream. And if it does not stream, is it pre-recorded? What is it? Is it Vision? In the past he did like 8-hour streams. I don't know that we're going to see that back. But I do think what we're going to see is if Richard is able to accomplish what I think he can accomplish with this precedent, and the precedent would be that writing to the blockchain is speech. That's the greatest precedent. That's really the glory. But he can't go and do like victory lap after victory lap on all the shows and do all this stuff unless Hex is at least at its last all-time high. That's 52 cents. So if you're one of these Hex OGs and you still got Hex and you got stakes, it's going to be above 52 cents. I mean, some people saying $3, $4. I mean, that's insane. I know some people got big, deep stacks. 340 people here on 3 platforms. Thanks so much for making this exciting for me as well. But yes, I do. Do it. It just started streaming a few weeks ago. Do it, man. That's awesome. Thought about it for 8 months. Wish I had started sooner. Are you doing it on, I would assume you're doing it on all of the, oh, Ramon, dude, okay. It's Ramon. What's up, dude? Hey, if you started a channel, why not have you on again? And we encourage people to sub to you. That's what we should do. Melly Mel, Trump must win. Well, and we'll see. What's crazy about it is I think of all my friends at the Texas Nationalist Movement. I mean, they're going to have something on their hands if he doesn't win. Because I'm going to tell you, like all of these southern states, the former Confederate states are going to be like, we're out. We will win. Absolutely. I think either way, we're going to win. Texan Token, Stock Exchange, other Texas, after Texas. Yeah. Well, BlackRock's actually building an alternative to the New York Stock Exchange in Texas, which I'm not, promoting that in any way. But, we're storing value. And I think when people see the green candles, there's 500,000 people in the Texas Nationalist Movement. Folks, the hard part is you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. You're like, it's the bottom you need to buy. And they're like, well, no, people like to buy tops, right? They like to buy as things are going up. And so we're going to see a lot moving in. It's already started. DCA in and DCA out. Amen. That's a good one. Good plan. Alex, Crypto Heartbeat, your spoken truth is the gospel for the newbies that are coming into the space. Amazing. Keep up the good vocals. Thanks, man. I've had a lot of practice. I think I've had 700 videos now, so been able to kind of work this thing out. But I'm excited. 344 people here. That to me, I mean, I've been speaking to maybe 35 people in the bear market. This is an indicator to me. Like, you want to take an indicator of the bull runs out upon us? People are waking up and telling other people about this whole thing. I mean, think about this right now. You could get into PLS for half the price that the Sackers got in. That's crazy. And you've got this indication that we're coming into the right time. But I will warn you this. One, I don't give financial advice. I'm not telling you to buy anything. I'm just saying the crypto market in general. But I will say this. Be careful because, there's going to be an October surprise. It's already kind of indicated that it's coming potentially out of the Southern District of New York's office on Trump. There's going to be some shock there. Who knows what's happening with the wars, right? So just be aware. You have to be cautious. And a lot of times, if you're new into all this stuff, I'm going to tell you how I did this. I saw this TV ad for Hex. Did I like back up the truck and take my life savings and put it into Hex? Nope, I didn't. But I missed out on the mad gains, right? So at that point, I was like, I'm not going to put in anything I'm not willing to lose. But it taught me something. I had to learn it. And everybody kind of has to learn it. Crypto has to prove itself to you. Like me coming back to the dinner table and saying, hey, It's up. It doubled in the last 3 days. And they're like, that's not real money. And it's like, it had to prove itself to me. A lot of times you have to go through those cycles, right? And then I've heard story upon story about people who literally backed up the truck. I don't advocate. I've got kids. I've got, daughter in college. I've got a lot of responsibilities. I can't just like, speculate. I can't just gamble. But folks, it's a unique time, and you need to know what time it is. I can emaciated afternoon, heartbeat, and fam, Susie Q. So true, true, true. Liberty or death. It will be very interesting to really hear Richard's thoughts and views if and when he streams again. His freedom-minded views is what drew me into this stream way back when. Do you imagine? I mean, I literally like I just imagine Richard, gives a 30-minute warning. He calls Hexo to get a thumbnail made, and we see Richard Hart streaming. Holy crap. Anything, right? Whew. But think about this. Every one of the guys, the early guys, kind of the cypherpunks, right? Who's left? Either you're dead or you're in jail. I mean, CZ's going to get out of jail here soon. I'm not sure what the date on that is. But it's Richard, Charles Hoskinson and Richard Hart. Everybody else, I mean, obviously there's Vitalik, but he's kind of a waste in my mind. So the real people who are holding the flag of decentralization, Charles is on governance, right? He's given that whole thing away to the new governance on Cardano. And if you're, super nerd, super academic, I guess that's a way you could go. But I would say Richard Hart's the only one left. And it's going to be tough. I mean, people that have hated on him are going to have to say thank you if this precedent gets set that writing to the blockchain is speech. I'll get with you on Telegram. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Firestarter, you are a true leader in the heart of gold. 345 viewers coming soon. Yeah, 352 right now, if you can believe it. And of course, that's mostly from Twitter. I'm really, I wish I could go all Twitter all the time and it had the same kind of subscription deal, or I'm sorry, followers, that you could actually subscribe. But now it's like paid stuff and all that. Folks, give it a follow on Twitter if you're on Twitter watching this. All the notifications go out there. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. This is going to be an amazing journey. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see something really special. This last time around, we had the Charlie 19, right? But we've got mainstream people, big time mainstream people investing in crypto, and a rising tide lifts all boats. But this is not a game. We're not just in it for, oh, well, I just found a meme coin. No, we're in it because we're building together. Us in community are building an alternative financial system that is protected from centralized bankers, social credit scores, government IDs, right? This whole thing, you've got to have a place that you can transact that's private if you want it to be. And so, folks, we have a properly decentralized layer one in PulseChain. The system state, people are going to be aware. Richard said it's the largest airdrop in history. People still don't know, but they will know as things kind of move up, right? The word's going to get out. But in a way, the gatekeeping and all the negative stuff on Richard is actually really good, because what it does is it galvanizes a group of people. And I've seen some crazy stuff happen and people are just still stuck around. It's amazing the loyalty that people have. But this is how you do it, right? Organic community. And it's only going to grow, right? Green candles have a way of attracting people. Fantastic. 145K. Oh, sorry about that. We have 368 people right now. We'll see about that. I think the message will be a little bit different at that time, but amen to that, Firestarter. I know what you mean. Salt of the earth makes up PulseChain. And that is true. When I first came to the meetups and I met people in the Hex and Pulse community, what I realized is a lot of blue collar people. And if you think about this, this really started with guys like Hexologist and RG3, and of course, the pirates, right? And what I love about it is, who do you want to win? And it makes sense that there would be this community of people who know what hard times look like, right? That's really what it's made up about. People are like, RG3 is a great example of this, right? He was a blue collar worker, and he literally, his life changed. And he knew how to build teams. And if it wasn't for those guys in those early days, right? If it wasn't for Hexo, it wasn't for Coffee, if it wasn't for RG3, and then, dollar cost crypto and what was it? Altcoin Jesus or Moses or somebody like that. Anyway, there's a number of people at the beginning stages that believed in this when it was like nothing. And it took that. And so we owe a huge debt of gratitude to those folks. But it is still attracting, I think, a group of people who are the salt of the earth, good people who know what hard times look like. And I find that they're more appreciative of when they do have capital, when they do have money. And they are very generous. That's the other thing I've known, is that people help each other out. And that is a characteristic of people who go, hey, I can relate to you. But I think the key of this whole thing, if we want to make this place a better place, which I assume you do, is we have to consider others in addition to ourselves. That's the message you're always going to hear from me. Pulse Chain will melt faces in the next 12 months. PTGC is the hockey stick coin of Pulse. Well, there's a lot that's going on there. And the cool thing about bonded liquidity is it's all going to move together, folks. Spencer, I'm slaving away in my day job, steadily DCAing into the ecosystem. Each paycheck, I believe, is what we're building. And that's the story of many people who have. I remember when I first went to Austin, I did an Austin meetup with Hexicans, and yeah, that's slow and steady wins the race. This is the time, and it's amazing. It's crazy when you see these days. I used to take screenshots on my phone, and my buddy Ray, I'd be like, "Hey man, it's up 37% today." I mean, I think there were some times where it was up 40% in a day. I mean, just think about like the stock exchange, right? We hope we have 8% over the course of the year. Folks, these things can go crazy. And what is it driven by? It's driven ultimately by adoption, more buyers than sellers. And the thinner the liquidity, the higher it goes, right? And so pay attention. Like the things you need to do, you need to follow Richard Hart on Twitter, and you need to really pay attention to what he has to say. He educates people as well, right? I've learned basically everything from him. And so these tenets, these true tenets of DeFi are something that you've got to understand because they're far reaching in their implications. Because self-custody, what we're building together, having this thing that is ultimately an alternative financial system is going to be really, really relevant in the future. Because as things turn digital, right, money becomes completely digital. What ends up happening is all of the big players get their talons into it, right? These means of control. Look what people are doing with Bitcoin. They want to control it, whether it be the hash rate or the mining hardware. They want to control it, right? And that's the nature of evil, right? And then you start thinking about this idea of what would it look like if we actually cared about other people winning? I used to say we're winning the lottery in slow motion. Yeah, it's like that. But you do it together. But one of the things that I'll be working on for the next year is how do we go about preserving that value and eliminating as much of that cycle of volatility as we can? Because, these things are speculative, but the future is they won't be. I mean, look at Bitcoin, right? The beginning, if you got in early, you got all the gains. Well, what are we at? 65,000 right now. And if we go to 241.5, right? Well, what's a better return? Well, Ethereum's probably going to be a 4 to 5x, right? What are we going to get? 3, maybe 4x on Bitcoin? Maybe. I'd be surprised. But then you look at Hex that went up 10,000x. Well, that was from the bottom. Well, what's it at right now? $0.015 on Pulse Chain? Okay, what's it going to be? What does it look like? How many X's is that? So if it goes to $2, well, the more risk you take, the more potential reward. But also, you got to be smart. You got to do your own research, and don't trust people that just talk on YouTube. And that's part of the reason I don't give you any financial advice, is because I'm not qualified for it. And frankly, you have to do it yourself, because actually part of this whole thing is you taking responsibility for your financial future. What's up, Peter? What's going on? Great times are coming. That's right. Even if I don't make money in this ecosystem, I enjoy believing in a better financial institution with true decentralized finance. It's hope for the world. I'm voting with my money. Amen to that. And I think a lot of people are. I think it was a great move by Trump. Anthony Munoz, what's up, man? Talk about a guy who knows what he's doing. Smart guy, Anthony Munoz. Hex Love Pulse Chain is the people's chain. That is so true. It is. It's a social blockchain, community custody network. There you go. Ego Foundation. Hard to even imagine the amount of energy this cycle is going to raise. Yeah, isn't that the truth, man? 393 people. Maybe we can break 400 before we get off because I'm about to shut this thing down. Folks, thank you for joining the Pulse today. It's a real encouragement to me that this many people would come in. It's a sign of the times, but it's also one in which we need the encouragement. And because actually what makes this work is the community networking piece of it, right? Because you tell other people, hey, you're one beggar helping another beggar find food. You're like, the food's over here, man. And that's what's so cool. And, unlike a lot of the people who bought the top this last time and were so bummed out, they bought it 42 cents and it topped out at 52. I really feel for some of those folks, but DCAing, obviously many of those people did, and they're in a good position as far as their overall, amount, total cost. But when you're at this point in time and when you see this wave that's coming, you're like, okay, but keep in mind, in my opinion, we have to see what happens in the election. I still think we're going to have banana zone because it's just kind of priced in, but you have to be cautious. But I'm just excited for, this can be transformative for people's lives. I remember one of my first interviews back in the day, because that's how I started. I started interviewing all these Hexicans. It was with a guy named Balliot Brand, and Balliot Brand was a young feller and what quintessential crypto bro, I think. And Balliot Brand said, hey, Matt, when $100 turns into $1 million? And he said, when $1,000 turns into $10 million? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I do not. You can watch that. Actually, it's one of my early videos. That's what happened. And you got to tell that story. That's what happened. Now, did everyone catch the bottom and then sell at the top? No. But that's the narrative. That's the 10,000x narrative, that $100 can turn into $1 million. And you're like, okay, all right. So you're saying there's a chance. Folks, thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat, and we'll catch you next time. We're going to have 11 o'clock tomorrow, right side up and under Steve Staggs. Take care of yourself, and do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody.